I'll I'll stop share and share it again. Okay.
Those are very good solutions. You've been very reflective with the weight questioning. So let's review what we have decided. Activities were challenging and they required higher level planning and thinking of the
Idiyle ما تفتحش الشاشة.
No problem, no problem.
إيه؟
now time. Which would you like to start with?
How about the types of questions?
Okay.
Well, I noticed I used a lot of basic lower level type questions, and then toward the end I used some middle level questions, but I really thought that I used a lot more higher level questions than I did.
Tell me more.
Well, you know, the activity where they had to create an organism.
Okay.
You know, that's higher level. You know, that
Yes.
analysis level, you know. And they spent a lot more time there at the higher level.
Well, you're accurate there. Your activities were challenging and they required higher level planning and thinking of the students. Now, that's good. Let's consider the difference, though, between what the student is doing and your level of question.
I never thought about it that way. You know, I really was confusing what the students were doing and then my level of questioning.
And why might you think that that would be confusing?
Well, you keep telling us to focus on what the students are doing.
Right.
You know, what they're being asked to do to really learn this content. And I agree that's important, you know. What I need to think about is how my questioning is helping them to go deeper in their learning.
Right.
You know, just because they're doing a higher level activity, I still need to be asking those higher level questions.
Yes.
But before the data, I didn't realize that I was kind of stuck in that lower level questions, lower to mid level questions. And that I need to really balance that as I try to facilitate and guide them through their learning.
Right.
You know, I'm going to take notes about this in my lesson plan.
Okay. So, what I think I hear you saying as appropriate, that you're going to focus on asking a variety of questions with higher level order ones. And in doing so, that's going to stimulate higher level thinking in the students.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is. I
Okay.
think I can do that, definitely.
All right. So, shall we talk about the wait time next?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it's very obvious to see that my wait time decreased as the lesson went on.
Yes, it did. Tell me a little bit about why you think that may have happened.
Well, the increased wait time kind of encouraged some students to come off task, you know. And I felt I needed to shorten it a little to help them stay engaged and stay focused throughout the lesson. And then, of course, as you saw, they were blurting out answers and forgot to raise their hands.
Well, do you have any ideas as to how you may make the students stay engaged and attentive during that wait time?
Oh, I could have them in groups, maybe, and I can ask the group to answer the question instead of, you know, the variation where you ask an individual. And I can also reinforce raising your hands as a rule. You know, they have to do that.
Those are very good solutions. You've been very reflective on ways to improve the wait time and the questioning. So, let's review what we have decided.
Okay.
All right, first you're going to make a note in your lesson plans to cue you to make higher level types of questions. And then you're going to try the strategies of asking questions to a small group rather than an individual. And you're going to enforce the rule that they must raise their hands when it's appropriate to the activity. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Well, I have an action plan and I'd like to leave a
Okay.
copy with you with all that
Great.
information in it. I've also provided you with the link
Okay.
to a website that has great ideas about how to keep students engaged, and also it's going to include information on strategies for appropriate wait times. And I believe you're going to find it helpful.
That's great.
So, do you have anything else that you want to mention or any questions?
No, I think we've covered it, and I really appreciate you helping me think through this and your action plan and your website. I'm really excited about really putting these strategies into practice in my classroom.
Okay, well, I enjoyed spending time in your classroom, and I enjoyed listening to you come up with ways to improve student learning.
Thank you.
I have high expectations of you, and I know you can do it. So I look forward to seeing you next time.
Yes, great.
Okay.
Peer observation at Ipswich Girls Grammar School is the process whereby a teacher arranges to come in and spend some time in the classroom of another teacher looking at the strategies that are used within the class. We have a specific focus in that we're looking at lesson structure and particularly the articulation of lesson objective. When we started our quality teaching project, the first thing we did was quite an extensive literature review, and it was very clear from the literature that peer observation was one of the best strategies for professional development that we could provide for our staff. The teachers would have a short meeting before the lesson where they talk about what's going to happen in the lesson, what the objective is going to be, and how the lesson is going to flow.
Well, this is a grade 5 class, and our lesson today is teaching the children about how words are used by authors and readers to take meaning from different texts.
I'm really keen to see how you explicitly give your objective to the class and also your anticipatory set. That's something that I really want to focus on in my teaching.
So class, today's lesson, as you know, is about teaching and understanding tone and mood.
The teacher who's doing the observing goes in, he or she will have a little worksheet that they fill out. We call our peer observations VOTs, which is visit other teachers each term. And so the teacher is looking at, what did I see, what did I learn, what can I do to improve my own teaching as a result of what I've seen.
As we spoke about before the lesson, I was really keen to look at how you stated the objectives to the students and also the anticipatory set that you used. The anticipatory set, which was something that I was really interested in, was fabulous. The use of multimedia engaged the students straight away. The images that were used were fabulous. They were targeted right at the students' level. They were laughing along with the clips, that they were really interested in the images that they were being shown. And certainly it introduced the lesson on tone and mood really well.
Do you think you could use this sort of thing in home economics?
Absolutely. While I was watching your lesson, I was thinking that how could I use this in my subject area, and I was thinking that the use of images would be perfect, particularly when we're doing a practical lesson. If we were making something like cupcakes, then I could show them some clips from maybe MasterChef or Cake Boss, showing them the production, showing them the end product, so they see what they're going to be doing in that lesson in short, sharp grabs, so their attention's gained straight away.
The response from teachers to peer observation has been very positive. I think as they've undertaken the observations, they've realised that this is a way that they really can pick up some new ideas, some new strategies, some different approaches, and it gives them an opportunity to actually see what happens, in someone else's classroom. So that's been very positive.
It's been fantastic, particularly for my own teaching. I've really been able to get some new teaching methodologies that maybe I'd had a few years ago that I'd forgotten to use. It's that real cross-fertilisation of looking at what someone else does and what they have success with, and then being able to implement that into your own classroom.
Implementing peer observations are challenging for all parties. Initially, teachers may feel hesitant about having somebody else in their classroom. Sometimes you can feel, and just having an understanding that they're there not necessarily to judge you, but to watch what you do.
So what have you noticed about the first video? What have you noticed about the first video? Have you noticed the language the teacher, the observer used to deal with the observee? Have you noticed the language, how the atmosphere, how they talk together?
Well, what got my attention is that she made the teacher do most of the talking.
Yeah, exactly. And have you noticed what language did she use? Have you noted the language? I noticed. Yeah, I realized. So it's very important when we give feedback to use a different kind of language. And this is what we're gonna see together. What are the useful, or what is the useful language to give feedback when we are giving feedback to other observees, okay? So we're gonna go back to the presentation again, okay? And see what language should we use with our observees during peer observation, and what atmosphere should we put the observees in to feel more relaxed and comfortable and talk most of the time, as you have noticed now, okay? This is one of the pros here. So what are the most important skills of the peer observation? We talked about first active listening, and after that we called about feedback, okay? And here we're going to talk about the language of the 5 golden rules of feedback. First of all, let's see together what language should we use when we try to apply the first rule. What was the first rule? Can you read it? What was the first rule? I want one of you to read the first golden rule. The first rule is describe what you saw while observing without being judgmental. So we mean not to judge the teacher. So what language should we use here? We can use this language. I noticed, I saw, or I heard. Why? To let the observee feel that he's sitting at ease, he's talking freely, he's talking more confidently. We are not watching them. We don't say I watched, or I observed, or I judge you, but simple, easy language, like I noticed, I saw, or I heard. When we move to the second golden rule, we can use a language like this. The second golden rule is encourage the teacher to tell you about the lesson. And this is exactly what you said, Noha, that the observee is taking much or all the talk. I was interested in the way you, why did you, what would you like to improve or change? How did you feel? So with a language like this, or with kinds of questions like these, you can open the doors to the observee to feel more relaxed and comfortable, to talk more and to tell you about his impressions about the lesson, what were the good points, what were the points of weaknesses, and what were the points of strength, and how to develop, improve, and enforce the next time. When we move to the third golden rule, provide positive comments on the lesson. You can say, I liked, I'd like to try in my own lesson. So you give the observee the chance to talk about his suggestions and his points of view and his vision to the next or the coming lesson. How will he run it, or how will it work better with him next time? When we move to the fourth, empathize with the teacher. I often have difficulties with, and this is what exactly the teacher talked about. She said, I have some difficulties when I use higher level questions with my students. I often do. So you encourage the teacher or the observee to talk about his problems and how to solve next time. I often do in my lessons on this topic, or you can tell him how you deal with other or the same situations and how to solve problems like these. Also give a suggestion of how you have managed a similar situation task. Have you thought about? So you ask about suggestions. I often do on my own lessons on this topic. So it's very important when we give effective feedback to choose the kind of language we deal in such situations. Okay. Here is giving feedback, effective feedback, of course. Remember, the aim of peer observation is for both the teacher and observer to learn. And all the time we are assuring and focusing on this point. We are observing others and we are observed to learn from each other. It's a mutual process. Its purpose isn't for evaluation, but for effective feedback, of course. And here we can find that it aims to put the teacher at ease by creating a friendly atmosphere. And this is what exactly we have just put it on the video. Why? Because this helps to encourage reflection on both what went well and what didn't go so well in the lesson, and to open the doors for the teacher to talk freely and confidently about his vision for the next lesson, how to improve, how to add, how to summarize, and so on. Here are some words. Now we want to watch them with the language we will use with the observee next time. How many words are here? How many words? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What is the first one? What is the first one? Can you read the first one?
Encourage.
Yes, encourage. Okay. Look at these labels or look at these word cards. Look carefully at them and please try to match the definitions or the words to the language we should use to encourage the observee or the teacher. I noticed that, I saw, I heard. Have you thought about? You could try. Something that worked for me was, I often have difficulties with too. I hate it when that happens. So, which card of these can go with the word encourage? Can you match it? In a minute, look carefully at the cards, the word cards, and try to match them to the suitable words. Which goes with the word encourage? Try to guess and we'll check if we're right or wrong, and no problem at all. We're trying together. Okay, let's see together. Here, describe. When we are the language we can use with the word describe. I noticed that you, I saw, I heard. Okay. When we suggest, we can use something like this. Have you thought about? You could try, or something that worked for me was. So here, you encourage the teacher to suggest what will happen next time by using a language like this. Have you thought about? And so and so. You could try another different technique or vary the strategies or the activities, or you can try this activity or that. Also, something that worked for me was maybe using a song, maybe watching a video, and so on. Here is emphasize. This is the suitable language for the word emphasize. Empathize. I often have difficulties with this too. Or I hate it when that happens, when there is some noise, when students are passive, or when they are not acting or reacting to me. Excuse me. Also, I know what you mean. When that happens to me, I can try so and so and so. Encourage. I was interested in the way you explained the lesson. Why did you talk most of the time? Or why did you use this technique? I liked it. What would you like to improve or a challenge? How did you feel about it? Okay, be positive. You can use a language like this. I really liked the way you started your lesson. I really liked the way you presented the vocabulary, for example. I really liked the way when you played the song. I'd like to try this technique in my own lesson. I'd like to try asking questions to my students in my own lesson, and so on. So here we have, when we are giving feedback, we have to think of the language we can tell our observee or our peers, okay? By describing, suggesting, emphasizing, encouraging, and of course, telling them how to be positive or give them positive impressions about their lesson here. What were the issues in the teacher's lesson? What was the problem with the feedback? Okay, here is an example. We're going to skip it. Planning what to observe. When we observe others, do we observe them haphazardly or without planning, or we should plan to observe others first? Which is better, to go accidentally or by chance to observe our friends? And this is, by the way, is a kind of observation, to go by accident, or if you were walking around the school and you find something good in a class, you can ask the teacher if he's allows you to enter. You can enter and observe the teacher and try to observe what you liked inside his lesson. This is a kind of observation which is by chance or accidental. But which is better, accidental observation or planning observation or well-planned observation? Which one is better from your point of view?
Well-planned observation.
For sure. Anything planned, previously planned, will get the most benefit out of it. We can visit our friends or observe by chance or by accident. It's okay, that happens sometimes. But it will be better if we plan for observing before. The teacher can be more organized and so on. So planning what to observe is very important. Here, is it desirable to focus on one area only or different areas of teaching? Here are a lot of points you have to tackle or to deal with when you observe the other teachers or the observees. Lesson organization, teacher time management skills, students' performance on tasks, teacher questions and student responses, teachers' explanations, classroom and interactions, use of the textbook, new teaching activity, group work, teacher-student relationships and roles. Can a teacher, or is it desirable to focus on one area only or different areas of teaching? And if you like to focus on one area, tell me why. If you want to focus on different areas of teaching, tell me why. And from your point of view, which is better, to focus on one point or more than one area at a time? Let's share ideas together. Can you share us your ideas? Is it desirable to focus on one area only or different areas of teaching?
If only one teacher is observing me, not a group of teachers, I think it's better to focus on just one. So he can notice all what is related to this area, and he can be more effective for feedback about it. If we have more than just one focus, he will be distracted, or he might miss a thing or two that could affect his opinion.
Yeah, exactly. If you are observing different areas, this can disrupt the observation technique or the observation process itself. The teacher can be distracted. He cannot get what bad points or points of weaknesses should he solve them the next time, or what are the good points or the points of strength in the lesson. The teacher will be disrupted and distracted and don't know exactly what to do. So it's very important when you observe others or when you observe it, to ask the observer, either a supervisor or a colleague or another teacher, to tell you about only one point or 2 points. For example, about the lesson organization, does it well or not? Or about the teacher time management skills. And the next time you can deal with other areas or other points, okay? So are there any, here are some models or some examples of the topics you can deal when you are observing others: lesson organization, teacher time management skills, students' performance on tasks, teacher questions and student responses, teachers' explanations, classroom interactions, use of the textbooks, new teaching activity, group work, teacher-student relationships, and rules. Are there any other topics you might like to add in the list? Are there any other topics you can add? Are there any other topics? What else can we add to this list? If you are observing a teacher, what other areas or other topics we can add to this list? Can we add, for example, pair work? Can we add starting of the lesson or finishing the lesson or using involving students? Can we add other topics?
We have this
I think.
for taking care of different levels in our class. I forgot the name.
Yeah. So we can add different dealing with different levels. We can add how to deal in the noise. We can add dealing with
Engaging
larger
students
problems.
in
Yeah, engaging students, using activities, using songs, for example, using games. So there are lots and lots and lots of topics we can add, of course, to this list. How to start a lesson, how to deal with past
moving
finishers.
from one stage to another.
Yeah, exactly. Moving to from one stage to another, moving from a small number class to a large number. How to manage how to manage group work, how to manage pair work, and so on. So still, we have lots and lots of lists and topics we can add to this list, of course. And most of the time, we make sure that the main target of peer observation is to learn, is to get benefits, to share ideas, to get some experience, not to be judgmental, not to be selective, not to be watching or inspecting the others, but to, of course, to give them, to make them more confident, to give them positive feedback, and of course, this will not happen away from active listening. And we have watched the teacher is listening very active to the other one. She's not interrupting her at all. She's looking at her eyes and nodding from time to time to assure that she's listening to her. She's focusing with her. She's encouraging her all the time. She's asking her about suggestions. And I know there's something which is very important, which is taking notes for both the observee and the observer. Both of them have sheets of paper to write the points of weaknesses and the points of strength and how to improve and develop them the next time. Why to have a sheet of paper or to write down the points of weakness and the points of strength? I think to when we write things, we don't forget what to do next time. But when we talk orally, of course, we will forget. So a very good point I noticed during watching the video was taking notes from both the observer and the observee. Both of them write some notes. They have a form of observation. They talked about a specific point or 2 points at a time. Why? To solve the problem or to deal with the situation in a different from a different horizon next time. And of course, all the time we have to have continuous feedback and continuous self-development, and of course to be more professional and to be more confident next time and to learn, of course. Here is a table, okay, of some work. Okay, we'll of course skip it because of the time. And here is a reflection and action plan. Before this part, this is the end of the session, inshallah. But before this reflection and action plan, I want you to watch another one last video and talk about it and come back to the end of the session and discuss what points have we learned today and the previous time, and is it beneficial or not. Okay, so are you ready for one last video about observation? Are you ready? Please tell me,
yes,
please.
of course.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing this and I'll share one last video together to get benefits together, inshallah. It won't be long, inshallah, inshallah. Bismillah.
So tell me about what you wanted students to focus on when you brought them back for discussion. At its core, observation and feedback is about coaching teachers to improve student learning.
Carlos goes camping. I wanted them to make a connection.
In this feedback meeting, Asia starts her deep dive with a precise question. What was the objective of her lesson? Once she has done that, Asia uses video of a master teacher who did the same lesson that Christy had done earlier. Watch how Asia uses this video clip to help Christy identify her weaknesses.
Okay. So I have a video of Shadell.
Okay.
And she starts off the comprehension conversation with a retell.
Okay.
So she has a very clear focus, and I want us to note what her focus is and see if we can pull that out from her conversation with the students. But additionally, I want you to notice how she begins that conversation with the group.
As you notice, before showing the video,
Here, the observer tries to let the other teachers watch a video about the same lesson for another teacher. And how did she deal with the problem, with a similar problem? How did she solve the problem? And how to let the other teacher, okay? Can you hear me? How to learn together, these two teachers, the observer and the observee, how to learn from the third teacher after watching a part of the lesson for the third one, okay? So this is another technique to watch a video for the same lesson for a different teacher and try to learn the best way to solve the problem, okay? Let's see together.
After showing the video, Asia asks a targeted question to focus Christy on what she's watching.
All right, let's come together. Yeah, she's flying away from that cat, but what did she do before she flew away from the cat?
Okay, so we'll stop it right there. Okay. So what did you notice about the way Shadell opened up that comprehension conversation?
She opened it up saying, pretend like I've never read this story. So that I opened it up so that they had to include all the details of the story as if she's never read it.
Asia gives Christy the opportunity to debrief each item that she has watched. In this way, Christy is doing the thinking, increasing her ability to identify the components of effective teaching and to identify the weaknesses in her own.
Retelling it, Shadell chimed in with questions as those points were brought up.
So now thinking about all the moves that Shadell made there, she said, how do you think she felt? Why do you think that? What in the story makes you think that? So she used a lot of the really generic step prompts.
Exactly.
To get the student to change her thinking from she was surprised to scared, which was the more valid answer.
Right.
But also to make connections to help her better understand the text. So now think about that in comparison to the opening moves for the comprehension discussion that I saw today.
Yes. So in this comprehension discussion, I can start with a retell instead of making them separate. Instead of coming right to the connection, I can start with the retell, and as the retell progresses.
As you can see here, Asia summarizes what Christy has seen and then asks her to compare that to her own teaching. What's the power of this approach? Christy is articulating her own action steps and developing an eye for effective teaching. Asia could have just told Christy what to do, but she wouldn't have internalized why this is so important. In this final part, Asia makes sure that Christy applies this by putting the key actions right into her upcoming lesson. We have moved from talking about improvement to directly changing instruction.
So let's actually go into your plan and script out how this might look.
Okay.
So what have you noticed about this video? Here, the observer didn't say any comments, but instead, he gives a direct solution. He lets the observee watch a video about how the teacher dealt with a similar situation, and the teacher, the observee herself, tells her coming plan when she will teach the lesson next time. So this is another kind of observation, okay, and how to solve the problem. We're going to end soon in a minute, okay, and wrap up all today's session. Okay. So can you tell me in brief, what did you learn from today's session about observation? What is the target of observation? Can you tell me? What is the aim or target of peer observation? Are you still there? We're gonna finish.
That's professional development and for finding solutions to problems that we meet sometimes in our classes.
Finding solutions and to learn. And what skills should we have? Active listening and giving feedback. So here is the reflection and action plan. Decide on which of the statements below you agree or disagree. Here, peer observation is essential for my professional development. Agree or not? Just one word, agree or disagree. To wrap up, do you agree? It's essential for my professional development?
Sure.
Okay. If my colleague is at the same position like mine at school, this means that I won't be able to learn from him or her.
No, I disagree.
Yeah. The observer can interrupt the observee if they see incorrect language used.
Disagree.
Interrupt? No, disagree. I can apply what I see in my colleague class to my class.
Yeah.
Sure. We learn from each other as we agreed before. Here is action plan. Think about it. Our action plan will be, think about a lesson. You have worked it before. You think that there is something bad about it. For example, the class was noisy. And try to think of some solutions how to deal with noisy classes next time, and just to try to send it on the WhatsApp group and tell me how you can solve the problem of noise inside your class. Here we come to the end of our session today. I just want to say thank you so much for participating and attending today. And as usual, I want you just to tell me one thing you liked about today's session and one thing you feel a little bit confused about it and how to solve it next time, inshallah, or how to solve it right now. Can you tell me what thing did you like today? You did like today in today's session, or you learned?
Your videos are very great.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anything confusing because time is running?
No, I want you to give
Send
us
all the
a tag.
videos.
Yes, no, a tag every day.
Oh my God. Wallahi, I hope so. I will. Yani, I'm crazy and I can do it. Thank you, Hannah, so much for attending. It's a pleasure to be with you all the time. Wallahi. Only sickness keeps me away from you, but I miss you so much. See you next time, inshallah. It will be inshallah on Monday and Wednesday to finish all the tags and to complete our Relu journey. And I hope, and please pray for me to fulfill and achieve my sessions and my work, inshallah. Okay.
I won't miss Nuha to do so.
Yes. I miss you so much. Thank you
tags
for
a day.
attending today. Not to stay too long. Thank you so much. And I hope you sweet dreams and goodbye, my dear, lovely friends and mentors and trainees, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Fardouz.
I hope you liked it. No,
Yeah, we loved it. Where are you? Yeah, Alhamdulillah.
It gives me a great pleasure, wallahi. And yes, thank you so much. Goodbye. See you tomorrow next time, inshallah. Have a nice time and have a good week ahead, inshallah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.